Hello guys. Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we have a sizzling spoiler-packed update that's going to shake up Port Charles like never before. Hold on to your seats because Sonny Corinthos is about to face one of the most shocking revelations of his life. One that changes everything he thought he knew about family, revenge, and the boundaries he's willing to cross. As we know, Sonny Corinthos doesn't forgive betrayal lightly, especially when it endangers the lives of those he loves. Sonny's rage was ignited when Sidwell orchestrated an attack, ordering his henchmen to burn down Charlie's pub. That ruthless act nearly cost Sonny his beloved daughter, Christina, her life. The flames were extinguished just in time, but Sonny's heart burned with a fire that would not easily die out. Determined to make Sidwell pay, Sonny chose the cruelest form of revenge he could imagine, abducting Sidwell's own son, Marco, and holding him hostage. Sonny believed that the quickest path to inflicting pain on Sidwell was through his child, thinking that no parent could endure the suffering of their own flesh and blood. It was a merciless move, but in Sonny's eyes, it felt justified after all. Sidwell had crossed a line first, nearly destroying Sonny's family. However, Sonny's coldly calculated strategy quickly unraveled in ways he never anticipated. Sidwell refused to cave into Sonny's harsh demands. Sonny expected Sidwell to break, to show remorse, to bend to his will, yet Sidwell, astonishingly, remained firm and defiant. The truth was harsher than Sonny ever expected. Sidwell was willing to sacrifice Marco's life rather than succumb to Sonny's power play. It was a chilling response that no one, especially Sonny, had seen coming. The standoff between Sonny and Sidwell quickly escalated to a breaking point. Frustrated, betrayed, and filled with fury, Sonny reached his boiling point. He drew his gun, ready to execute Marco right then and there, believing it would finally send the devastating message he intended to Sidwell. But just as Sonny's finger tightened on the trigger, Marco shouted a shocking revelation, desperate to save his own life by dropping a bombshell that would change everything. Marco's words echoed through the air, ringing in Sonny's ears and slicing through his rage. Marco revealed he was not Sidwell's son, it was Sonny's. Sonny was stunned, frozen by disbelief and confusion. Marco urgently explained that 30 years ago, Sonny and Natalia, Sidwell's wartime lover, had spent a night together, a secret encounter forgotten over the decades. Natalia had hidden the truth from everyone, including Sonny himself, choosing to raise Marco under Sidwell's name. This revelation rocked Sonny to his core. Suddenly, everything made sense. Sidwell's heartless indifference toward Marco wasn't simply a cold strategy. It was intentional cruelty. Sidwell had discovered the secret long ago, keeping it hidden until this twisted moment when Sonny would unknowingly destroy his own son. Sidwell's twisted plan had nearly succeeded, intended for Sonny to carry the weight of having killed his own flesh and blood, an act from which Sonny would never recover. Sonny stood shattered and devastated, questioning every choice he'd made up to this moment. The weight of this revelation was heavy and profound. Marco's desperate admission had saved his life, but at the same time, it had rewritten Sonny's entire understanding of family, loyalty, and revenge. For years, Sonny had believed that he knew exactly who he was and what mattered most. But Marco's confession brought him face to face with the realization that he was both victim and villain in a twisted game orchestrated by Sidwell. Sonny's immediate instinct was to protect Marco. Despite Marco's betrayal and deception, he was Sonny's blood, and Sonny recognized that Sidwell's cruelty toward Marco was something he could never match or condone. Sonny decided to let Marco go. They exchanged an uneasy glance, a painful recognition of their newfound relationship marred by trauma and violence. Even though Sonny freed Marco, their relationship remained strained, haunted by mistrust and the shadows of violence. Marco couldn't erase the memory of Sonny's gun aimed at him, nor could Sonny forget Marco's deception. But blood ties are complicated, and Sonny realized revenge would no longer come at the expense of his newfound son. Still, Sonny's vendetta against Sidwell hadn't vanished. Rather, it deepened into something more complex. No longer blinded by rage, Sonny began to strategize differently. Sidwell had attempted to manipulate Sonny into committing an unforgivable act, crossing a moral line from which Sonny would never recover. Sidwell's plan to devastate Sonny emotionally by orchestrating Marco's death was pure malicious cruelty Sonny vowed Sidwell would pay for, but in a way that wouldn't compromise Sonny's soul again. Now Sonny would recalibrate. He would strike differently. Instead of brute force or violence, Sonny's revenge shifted toward dismantling Sidwell's life piece by piece. Sonny would target Sidwell's business power and reputation, hitting him exactly where it hurt most. Sonny's vengeance would be thorough, calculated, and absolute without bloodshed, yet infinitely more devastating in its precision and impact. This unexpected family revelation also profoundly affected those close to Sonny. Christina, who was nearly killed in Sidwell's attack, learned she had a half-brother, causing her to reevaluate her understanding of family dynamics. She grappled with mixed feelings of joy, confusion, and resentment. Would Marco become a part of their family, or would he remain distant, a painful reminder of Sidwell's manipulation? Meanwhile, Sonny's circle of Corinthos family and close allies were left grappling with new truths and suspicions. Everyone wondered who else might have been hiding secrets, how deeply Sidwell's schemes penetrated, and how far Sonny was willing to go for justice. The ripple effects from Marco's revelation stretched beyond Sonny himself, reshaping alliances, reigniting old rivalries, and pushing characters toward pivotal crossroads in their lives. As Sonny set out on his new path toward vengeance, one thing became painfully clear. The enemy he was confronting was not merely Sidwell, but also the darkness inside himself. Sonny's fight had always been to protect family, but now he questioned what that meant. Could he rebuild what had been fractured, or would the shadow of Sidwell's cruel deception cast a permanent cloud over Sonny's life? The coming episodes promise explosive confrontations, deeper family drama, and unforeseen twists. Sonny's world has permanently shifted, and viewers will watch closely to see if he can navigate this new reality without losing himself. Will Marco find his place in Sonny's life, or will their relationship remain irreparable? Can Sonny triumph over Sidwell without sacrificing his moral compass? Next, we will delve deep into the harrowing saga of Port Charles's most tormented soul, Sasha Corbin, and question when the scales of fate will finally tip toward the happiness she so profoundly deserves. The chronicles of Sasha Corbin's life in Port Charles read less like a biography and more like a study in relentless psychological torture, seemingly orchestrated by a cruel and unforgiving narrative force. The creative powers at ABC General Hospital appear to have designated Sasha as the town's perennial target for misery. A character destined to climb mountains of hope only to be cast into deeper valleys of despair. Her journey, since becoming a central figure, has been a relentless parade of horrors. We witnessed her descent into the grips of drug addiction, a desperate coping mechanism against the crushing pressures of being the public face of deception. Just as she found a lifeline in her love for Brando Corbin, she was forced to endure the most soul-shattering tragedy a parent can face, the loss of their newborn child, Liam. The silence that filled their lives after that loss was a grief so profound it threatened to consume her entirely. Before she could even fully process this devastation, she was widowed, watching the man who shared her grief be violently stolen from her, leaving her utterly adrift in a sea of sorrow. As if this litany of suffering wasn't enough, the betrayal she suffered next came from within her own family, a wound that cut deeper than any other. Her mother-in-law, the venomous Gladys Corbin, proved to be the architect of her complete unraveling. Under the guise of protection, Gladys systematically dismantled Sasha's life, seizing control of her finances through a corrupt conservatorship and bleeding her dry to fuel her own gambling addiction. This betrayal culminated in the ultimate violation, having Sasha unjustly committed to Ferncliff, a mental institution where her very sanity was weaponized against her. There, under the care of the nefarious Dr. Damon Montague, she was drugged, manipulated, and gaslight into believing she was losing her mind, a living nightmare designed to break her spirit completely. It was only through the heroic and collaborative intervention of Cody Bell, whose suspicions refused to be silenced, and the investigative prowess of Dante Falconeri and Sam McCall, that Sasha was pulled back from the brink of a medically induced psychosis and certain death. Without their desperate rescue mission, Sasha Corbin would have simply become another tragic statistic, her light extinguished in the dark halls of Ferncliff. In the aftermath of this harrowing ordeal, a fragile and unexpected bloom of hope began to emerge. The man who had been her primary savior, Cody Bell, became her confidant and her solace. A gentle, blossoming romance took root between them, built on a foundation of shared vulnerability and a deep and spoken understanding of trauma. For a fleeting moment, It seemed Sasha might have finally found a partner who could help her heal. But in true Port Charles fashion, this glimmer of happiness was cruelly and bizarrely extinguished. A shocking revelation, unearthed from the tangled branches of Port Charles's family trees, revealed that Cody was, in fact, her cousin. The cruel irony was staggering. The one person she had forged a genuine, post-tragedy connection with was forbidden to her by blood. With heavy hearts, they were forced to sever their romantic ties, leaving Sasha once again alone, with the ghost of a potential future haunting her. Now, a new and perhaps more insidious torment has descended upon Sasha, this time at the hands of someone she once considered a friend. Willow Tate, herself reeling from the court's decision to grant Michael Corinthos full custody of their children, Wiley and Amelia, is channeling her grief into a campaign of psychological warfare directed squarely at Sasha. In a chilling act of calculated cruelty, Willow has managed to infiltrate the sprawling Quartermain Mansiona residence whose security now seems laughably inadequate and has repeatedly taken Sasha's new baby, Daisy Gilmore Corinthos, from her crib. Willow's fractured mind has twisted her own pain into a warped justification for her actions, believing that making Sasha suffer will somehow punish Michael. The sight of Willow's public mental breakdown at the courthouse was a clear signal of her fragile state. Yet she was inexplicably released from a psychiatric evaluation at ABC General Hospital with no follow-up or apparent treatment. This systemic failure has unleashed a traumatized and unpredictable woman upon Port Charles. The specific cruelty of Willow's actions cannot be overstated. As a former friend, she is intimately aware of Sasha's historic loss of baby Liam, the gaslighting at Ferncliff, the fragile state of her recovery. Willow is not just acting out. She is deliberately weaponizing Sasha's deepest fears against her. She is creating a scenario where Sasha begins to question her own reality, making it appear as though Sasha is the one losing her mind, seeing things, and being an infant mother. It is a heartless and contemptible echo of the abuse she suffered under Dr. Montague, forcing Sasha to relive the terror of not being able to trust her own perceptions. Every time Daisy vanishes, a piece of Sasha's hard-won stability crumbles. For a mother who has already buried one child, the fear for her daughter's safety is an all-consuming, paralyzing terror. Yet, lost in her own vortex of pain, Willow tragically perceives her deplorable actions as a form of righteous justice, blind to the immense damage she is inflicting. While devoted fans of the genre understand that drama and heartache are the lifeblood of daytime television, the sheer volume and intensity of the suffering heaped upon Sasha Corbin have become difficult to watch. There was a collective sigh of relief and a spark of hope when Michael returned from his business in Germany, suggesting a potential reunion and a stable family unit for Sasha and the baby. The natural chemistry that radiates between actors Sophia Matson and the returning Rory Gibson is palpable, a dynamic ripe with potential for a powerful, healing love story. However, the show's writers almost immediately veered away from this promising path, choosing instead to plunge Sasha back into a nightmare. This consistent choice to prioritize her suffering over her recovery has created a disturbing and frustrating pattern. Viewers are practically screaming at their screens, insisting that this character has been tormented enough. Real life is filled with tragedy, but Sasha's journey has exceeded the struggles of even the most cursed soap opera characters. She has weathered enough strife, grief, and betrayal to fill 10 lifetimes, and the relentless cycle needs to be broken before this beloved character is shattered beyond repair. Next, we will investigate the chilling metamorphosis of Willow Corinthos, whose grief has curdled into a dangerous obsession, forging a dark and volatile alliance that threatens to burn Port Charles to the ground. The drama pulsating through the city has reached a fever pitch, centering on the alarming downward spiral of Willow Corinthos. The cold, sterile finality of the courtroom gavel still echoes in her mind, a percussive beat marking the moment her world fractured and she lost primary custody of her beloved children, Amelia and Wiley, to their father, Michael Corinthos. For any mother, this would be a devastating blow, but for Willow, it has become a festering wound. Compounding her agony, the sight of Michael building a new, seemingly idyllic life with Sasha Gilmore Corbin and their newborn daughter, Daisy, has become a relentless torment. A living portrait of the life she believes was stolen from her. This toxic cocktail of loss, rage, and jealousy has pushed her away from the light and directly into the shadowed influence of Drew Quartermain. A man whose own penchant for scheming and manipulation makes their partnership a truly volatile concoction. Whispers are now becoming roars, implicating Willow in the terrifying disappearance of baby Daisy during the July 4th holiday, sparking terrifying questions. Is her pact with Drew fueling a calculated, vengeful rampage, or is it the catalyst for a catastrophic implosion that will leave her completely destroyed? Willow's profound heartbreak has undergone a terrifying chemical change. The raw, understandable sorrow of a mother separated from her children has morphed into a cold, sharp-edged thirst for retribution. Every smile shared between Michael and Sasha, every coo from baby Daisy, feels like a personal attack, stoking the fires of her resentment. Her burgeoning relationship with Drew has acted as an accelerant on these flames. He provides a sympathetic ear and a shoulder to cry on, all while subtly validating her darkest impulses. Fans who feared the worst have now had those fears confirmed. It was Willow who orchestrated the terrifying disappearance of Daisy from her crib. A move designed with chilling precision to inflict maximum psychological pain upon both Sasha and Michael. Drew's influence is a constant, insidious pressure, as he eggs her on with promises of reclaiming her children. Yet, the critical question remains, is Willow merely a puppet, helplessly caught in the spell of a master manipulator, or has her grief awakened a dormant darkness, making her a willing and active partner in this nefarious plot? The insidious nature of Drew's influence cannot be underestimated, as it expertly stokes the embers of Willow's rage into a raging inferno. He has positioned himself as her sole ally, her champion, promising to leverage his resources and cunning to help her regain visitation rights, and eventually, custody. However, this facade of support cleverly masks his own selfish and convoluted agenda. His counsel comes from a man harboring his own labyrinth of deceptions, most notably his clandestine affair with Nina Reeves, a secret that would shatter multiple lives if exposed. Their dark partnership appears to be coalescing around a singular, destructive goal: the complete dismantling of Michael's happiness. This could drive Willow to take even more drastic and unforgivable steps, such as orchestrating a campaign to frame Sasha as an unstable and unfit mother, preying on her past traumas at Ferncliff. But a formidable obstacle looms on the horizon: the return of Jason Morgan. Should Jason, Michael's most loyal protector, catch wind of their conspiracy, the fallout would be seismic. The confrontation between the twin brothers would be inevitable and explosive, and Jason's unwavering loyalty to Michael would undoubtedly shatter any hope of reconciliation for Willow. Will Drew's toxic guidance push her irrevocably into the abyss of vengeance, or will she awaken to the reality of his control before she is too far gone to be saved? The potential consequences of Willow's actions are dire, threatening a complete and ruinous fall from which there may be no recovery. If her direct involvement in Daisy's kidnapping is exposed, the legal and personal ramifications would be catastrophic. Any possibility of securing visitation with Wiley and Amelia would instantly evaporate, likely replaced by a restraining order. Moreover, she would face serious criminal charges, potentially leading to a grim future behind the bars of a jail cell or within the padded walls of a mental institution like Ferncliff or Shady Brook. Such a revelation would undoubtedly shock Michael to his core. He might, in a moment of compassion, be inclined to view her actions not as pure evil, but as the tragic result of a profound mental break, a desperate cry for help from a woman shattered by grief. After all, despite being the identical twin of the certifiably sociopathic Nell Benson Jerome, Willow has historically been defined by her empathy and even-keeled nature, though her susceptibility to manipulation is a well-documented weakness. It appears old habits and perhaps latent genetic predispositions see excruciatingly hard. So, we are left to watch with bated breath as Willow stands at a precipice. Will her dark alliance with Drew successfully fuel a vengeful rampage that tears her enemies apart, or will the entire scheme backfire, leaving her shattered, utterly alone, and stripped of everything she ever held dear?